I'm not even gonna try. Hello, everybody, to another episode of Half a Clue Movie Review, where we talk about an all-time classic in honor of its 50th anniversary. The Godfather. We will talk about Dog maybe eventually. What's it called? Per request of one of our fans. Yes, The Godfather, directed by good old Francis Ford Coppola, and it's about the what's it called? The Corleone family in the 1940s to 50s as they try to survive a power struggle and a war between the five families as a new element and new financial element of heroin comes in.
Drugs.
Yeah.
Drugs changed everything for organized crime, at least.
Yeah. It first came out in March 24th, 1972, 50 years ago. And, you know, when it first, what's it called? And this is based on the novel by Mario Puzo, The Godfather, which I've was reading for for this research on this. Very different. Very, very, very different. Really? It's almost like a Game of Thrones novel in the sense where it's like from multiple different perspectives. Like, have you guys ever read the book for Game of Thrones?
No, but I understand they have like different POV characters.
Yeah, each chapter is a POV. It's like kind of like that, and Michael's not even like the main character. And also they only adapt like half of the book. And
this is like part two.
Some of the part two stuff is in there too, but it's a mix of other books. It's a whole complicated thing. Yeah. It's gonna be a 3-hour episode if we get into differences. Yeah. There's a good video called Lost in Translation that goes over the differences. I recommend that for avid fans of The Godfather. And I have to say, I like the movie a lot more than the book, and it's improved upon the source material. Yeah. Okay. So, what is your history with The Godfather?
Well, for me, it was okay. So there are like 3 movies that I've watched a lot since I was a kid because my dad loved them. Like they were just all-time classics and usually repeated at my house. Like my dad was never that big into watching films. My mom was, but my dad not so much. But the 3 films that he'd always want to watch was The Good, Bad, and the Ugly, Ben-Hur, and The Godfather. Those are those main 3.
Excellent films.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And that includes Godfather Part 2. Not surprisingly, we didn't watch Godfather Part 3 that much, but that's a conversation for another day. But no, so I'd seen The Godfather many times growing up as a kid. Probably watching it too early, but then, and just appreciating it more and more as I got older. So yeah, I've seen it quite a few times.
Well, Philip's about to take away my cinephile card.
I
watched it for the first time this last week.
You popped your virginity on Have a Clue. And by the way, my name is Philip. This is Ron.
Hi.
I'm Blake.
And Blake. What's it called? And we have popped his virgin popping bubble for The Godfather. We put the finger in and boom.
This weird way.
We stretched his asshole and allowed The Godfather to go in. God.
Okay, so last week, the first time that I had seen Casablanca, this is Blake's first time watching The Godfather.
Yeah.
So don't worry. There's plenty of other classic films that we have not seen that we'll probably react to in the future. But let us know which ones you would like us to react to.
Everything.
Yeah, Philip has literally seen every single film ever created, even the ones that have been lost to time.
Yes.
But
no comment.
Yeah. So what about you, Philip? What's your experience with The Godfather?
My uncle showed it to me. My uncle Bernie showed it to me as a kid, as a baby. The same guy who
he sat him up as a newborn at 2 weeks old.
I don't remember this, but yeah, it was my mom.
Did you watch The Mysterious Skin with him too?
I have actually. Okay, never mind. That's the whole story. With LGBTQ films with my uncle Bernie. Who knows? I'll ask him if he's to come on after he's done with his dentist days. Yeah, he just from what I remember from my mom saying that Uncle Bernie just was going through a lot of the film classes like Ben-Hur and stuff in Lawrence of Arabia, and I was just a baby and while babysitting me, and he was showing me these films. So I as a kid I don't remember shit, but I do remember some of the stuff like Luca Brasi and getting his neck choked out and stuff.
Yeah,
and
Sonny's death. That was always super iconic for me. Like that stuck with me.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
And so stuff like that kind of was stuck in my brain, and I was just imagining getting people choked. Not saying I ever choked somebody like that, but that image has stuck in my mind, and I imagine other people getting choked. And then but I think it was when I did a proper sit down and review of the film was I think 5th grade or something. My dad has apparently never seen The Godfather. He's always asked, and I thought he was gonna buy it, but no, he actually said, "Could I buy it?" So I like scrounged money from the school floor, and used other people's lunch money to buy the Godfather DVD and Blu-ray, and we watched it. And oh yeah, it blew my fucking mind as fifth grade Jiangsu, and I was like, oh my gosh, oh, this is how you could pretend to be someone's friend, but systematically kill everybody during a baptism. Fuck yeah, life goals. And Michael Corleone was like my idol for a bit, which is probably explaining why I'm here right now. You know what I mean? My mental state. But yeah.
You know, I'd already seen that baptism scene before though, because of
well, I mean, of course, I think that's like super iconic. It's hard to avoid that.
They showed it in like a filmmaking course I took.
Nice. I mean, that's like
one of the best cases of editing ever.
Yeah. This film is like, again, it's a masterclass in all forms of cinema. In lighting, just cinematography, general like camera movement, blocking of actors, acting, directing, writing, editing. It's just fantastic across the board. No, it's one of the main reasons, obviously, why it's lasted the test of time and why it prevails so many other forms of like media and film that it's like it's bled into the zeitgeist. Even if you've never seen The Godfather,
you've seen you have at least seen the symbol, the quotes.
Exactly, you've heard of it. You know about The Godfather, and again, for very good reasons.
All right, let's get into a bit of the development history for this film, which was crazy with Paramount. So Mario Puzo had like kind of a finished like 60-page, 80-page manuscript, and Paramount Pictures, specifically the vice president of production, Peter Bart, was like, okay, I saw this, and he's like, yeah, I want this. We'll offer you. It's insane considering the amount of money it made and the impact. We'll offer you $12,500 for the manuscript for the film rights for the novel. And this is before it came out, and $80,000 if we actually get it made. And everyone's saying that's a bad deal. We see something that's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be a huge success, and it was. It was like one of the best-selling novels of all time when it came out in 1969. But he had $10,000 gambling debt, and he was like, "I have no choice." So he did it. He sold it. They had the rights for Godfather for life.
They made him an offer he couldn't refuse.
Yeah. What's it called? And after that, the novel came out. They were already developing it, but what's it called? The novel came out, and the novel came out, sold millions of copies, was one of the best-selling novels of all time. And they were like, okay, we gotta really ramp up the production of this, and they're trying to find a director. And some of the ones is pretty surprising. They were trying to go. They were Peter Yates, Richard Brooks, Arthur Penn, Costa Gavras, Odo Preminger, and also the biggest one will be Peter Bogdanovich, who, if you guys know him, you probably as acting known him as the therapist friend in Sopranos, but also he directed What's Up Doc and The Last Picture Show.
Oh,
which excellent. Maybe we'll cover it one day.
Maybe.
But all of them declined because they either thought the film, like the novel, was like some of the people thought the novel was just basic reader fodder, or they just didn't connect with the material. But Paramount's like, we have to get somebody of Italian descent, because at this point they suffered the box office performance of their last mafia film, The Brotherhood, which had zero Italian talent. Like it had I think it was like Martin Sheen or something like that, or like it's like basically no Italian people.
Yeah.
And they said, by their own quote, said, we got to feel the meatball and the Italian scream.
Nice.
So they got Francis Ford Coppola for two reasons. One, he's Italian, and two, the Rainmaker, or his previous films, his recent film did not do well. And they were like, he's Italian, he's talented, and he'll probably work for cheap. So they offered him. He was like, fuck you, fuck off. But all worked out well because he owed $400 to Warner Brothers because he helped finance his best friend's film, George Lucas, THX 1138.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so he owed $400,000, and also he was bad with money at the time, so he was also broke. And his friends and family were like, "You're broke. You need something. Do this. We'll disown you." He's like, "Okay," and they offered him 125. He took it, and then we got Godfather. Not really. It's way more complicated than that.
Yeah. It's like we can't forget Coppola was also part of like what is it like the film brats?
Yeah, the frat pack or the the film brat generation.
Yeah, with like Spielberg, Lucas, Coppola, Scorsese. Yeah, all these dudes that like grew up with film, went to film school and stuff, and a lot of them knew and like studied with each other and stuff, and like kind of elevated each other's material, which is pretty great.
And it's weird that we don't. I kind of wish we had something like that now too, and we kind of do. Like I've heard stuff like Jordan Vogt Roberts is best friends with Ryan Coogler, and they like watch each other's shit. And Ava DuVernay is like good friends with J.J. Abrams, and they just like bounce off each other.
It's been part of it, like even with like what's his name? Oh my gosh, the director for like Gravity and
Alfonso Cuarón, Guillermo del Toro, and Alejandro González Iñárritu. They're like the three that like they're the brothers.
Yeah, exactly. All three of them know each other. They've worked together. They've like advised each other here and there. Like Guillermo del Toro, I think he told Cuarón like, dude, if you don't take Harry Potter, like you're an idiot. Like you just do Prisoner of Azkaban, and then you can do other stuff. And he did, and he made one of the best, arguably the best Harry Potter.
Yeah, he's my favorite.
But yeah, no, it's like it's something you kind of miss nowadays, and I feel like we are going to get that more as we go along. This new generation of filmmakers, people are now more reliant on each other than I think ever before. Like you really have to prop each other up to like succeed in like this new wave of like young creators and everything, stuff like even like YouTube has like kind of fostered that kind of like creator brotherhood mentality. So hopefully that kind of prevails into the future to lead to better stuff, but we'll see. But yeah, it's very interesting. It's like, man, imagine being like a classroom with like 4 of those dudes. Like any of these guys, it's like that would suck. I mean, that would be amazing.
I think De Palma was also part of that generation too, right? Yeah. De Palma, yeah. So all of them made good shit, and they all helped each other. Some better than others, but yeah. It's crazy. I do hope that does continue on to the future. And I see that with YouTube and stuff like that. Hopefully podcasts. Yeah. But wishful thinking. So Coppola and Paramount, when the production started, it was kind of hectic and stuff. Like Paramount, who was in a rough spot because a lot of the films flopped at this point, they're basically bankrupt. They were like, hey, Coppola, okay, we're going to make this like a shoot 'em up movie set in like modern time, at the time, 70s. Yeah. In Kansas City. And we'll shoot this at the back lot. We're not going to go to Sicily. It's not going to be in New York. It's going to be Kansas City. And it's going to look cheap. And we're going to shoot this for like $1 million or $2 million. And you know what he said? Fuck off, Vafangur. Like, he was like, nah, fuck you. We're going to make this film like the novel, 1940s, 1950s. It's going to be shot on location, New York and Sicily. They were like, you're crazy. And then the novel continues to do well. And it didn't happen while making the decision, but he won an Oscar for writing the screenplay for Patton.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so
he wrote the screenplay for that?
Yeah.
I feel silly that I didn't know that.
He's also a prolific screenwriter too. He's wrote like a lot of different shit. So yeah, it helped him a lot. And Mario Puzo, who got $100,000 to write the screenplay, he worked with Mario Puzo. And it's a weird writing process, which we'll cover when we talk about the writing. And they changed the screenplay and they worked on it together. And they actually shot on location both in New York City and Sicily. And I visited the places and the restaurants they went to in Bronx. I was like, yeah,
nice.
But it still had issues because they didn't believe in Coppola's decision, and he was indecisive, and he was always fighting for. He's a perfectionist at best, and he was always fighting with Paramount. So each day of these conflicts, they estimated cost $40,000 at in 1970s dollars. Yes. So I think it's like estimated 200,000 now.
Damn.
Or something like that. I might be getting my inflation rate wrong. I'm sorry. But yeah, he also had a mutiny at hand, and he had to fire his editor and his assistant director because they were trying to get him fired. And he was like, okay, we'll fire them. And one of the reasons that saved him, and we'll talk about both his direction and the DP, is his collaboration with Gordon Willis, who's a DP on this film, also known as the Prince of Darkness of DPs.
A master, like a true master.
So what do you guys think? First, Francis Ford Coppola's direction for this film. What were his strengths? What were his weaknesses? Does he have any weaknesses? And his collaboration with Gordon Willis.
Like personally, I think his decision to shoot it on location really helped elevate a lot of this film. Like the fact that they're actually in New York or in Sicily and stuff like this, like it makes it feel so much more authentic, and it makes you again really transport you to this time and place, and it gives that gritty realism that which later in the sequel you kind of long for in that sense. Like there's like a weird sense of nostalgia for like this violent time. It's like, but I think it's fantastic. So I think he was the right call, like all the way through. I don't know. I can't really even think of a bad moment that I think where he could have done better. But I don't know. How do you feel about?
Yeah, I mean, if they had done like all in the back lot and changed the time period and basically everything and just done everything to save money, obviously it wouldn't have come out as good. So yeah, I think he fought the good fight and he won, surprisingly.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
It was like, it's a weird mixed bag. Like, can you imagine just like they're about to fire you and they're like, you have nothing on your name, even though they're like, oh, but you won an Oscar, fuck. Yeah, and then no, honestly, there's for me, it's like I think it's flawless every way. And even when I was like listening to, behind the scenes and stuff like that, and when we get to editing, I'll talk about this more. But I didn't know that George Lucas was also an editor on this film.
Oh,
yeah.
Surprised there's no like wipes or anything.
The overlays of like when they're kind of montaging the way through the 5 family wars.
Yeah,
and all the people he did that.
Wow.
And also he helped edit and offered advice on the hospital scene.
Oh, that's great. That's like one of my favorite parts of the film.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm amazed George Lucas can contribute this much good into anything.
Wow. Okay. Whoa.
What's funny enough is like,
buddy.
As we were talking about like them elevating other filmmakers and stuff, like for Raiders of the Lost Ark, apparently Lucas or Spielberg wanted to have like a cyborg like Nazi soldier guy who had like shot flames out of his hands, and then George Lucas was the voice of reason who was like, let's not do that. Yeah. He's like, let's keep it a little more grounded. So what happened, George?
No, okay, I don't want to defend George because we're pressed for time, and then also it'll be a 3-hour episode. I will just defend George to the
but
death.
I think the point is like again, that hospital scene again is one of like my favorite moments in the scene because it's so pivotal to like this, like the rest of the story for Michael and just for the family in general, right? It's like what's it called? Vito is left alone, completely defenseless, and Michael, who is throughout the film to this point has done everything he can to avoid the family or the conflict. He's an outsider. Sorry, I have like hiccups. He decides that like,
how dare you have hiccups?
Yeah, now is his moment to really take action and take control. And it's the first time you really see him actually step into like any kind of role like that. Like he's just like, get these people in here. Let's do this. Let's do that. He's immediately decisive and precise and logical in what he does, and that's great, and that obviously lays the groundwork, and it shows you how capable he is to eventually take charge. So I don't know, I just it's just so well done. It's so well crafted.
Even that scene, like it's like, and also like people don't say this enough, but I think he's really good at directing actors, even for the small details.
Yeah.
Also, choosing the good actor. Like when Enzo the baker was like he's putting his hands and then like pretending he had a gun, but then when he went to go get the cigarette, his hands were shaking. Yes. But Michael's wasn't, and they specifically have a close up of his hand, just like showing, and then he notices his hands weren't shaking either, as if like he was born and bred for this.
Yeah. I wonder if like Scorsese honestly took a second, like maybe took a slight inspiration for that for Departed, because like he talks about how he's like, my hands never shake, like that's kind of just how
I think
he knows.
it was an obvious like
a little homage.
Yeah,
because it's like it's a perfect like embodiment of what makes Michael. Like he's immediately calculating, and he immediately realizes like, damn, like I'm good at this. Like this was like almost too easy for me to figure this out, of course. And then he gets clocked, and then it has one of my favorite like push-ins in the entire film when after the family's freaking out, they don't know what to do next. They're like, oh my god, this cop just like punched Michael. Sonny's just blowing off his top. He's just screaming like, oh, we gotta do something, whatever, blah blah. And Michael's just sitting there quietly calculating in his chair, and then as he starts talking, he starts laying out the plan of what he wants to do, which is what they ultimately do, which is him just like killing
Captain McCluskey, and Solozo.
Yeah, and he's sitting there, and the camera is just slowly pushing in on him as you see him just like laying out this plan, and then of course everyone else just starts like bursting into laughter. They're like, "Ah, you're so cute, boy! You think you can just do this shit?" But he's like, "No, he's already there."
Yeah, and probably like his time as a war veteran already desensitized into violence and stuff. Yeah, which was great, and I did like that. And okay, so let's talk about that pushing, right? So do you think they used a zoom, or would they actually just push the camera in?
Well, from what I understand, they did not use zooms.
Yeah, exactly. They only used zooms in what scene? Only one time.
Which one was that?
The opening.
Oh.
That was the only time he... Okay, so brief context for this discussion.
Yeah.
Gordon Willis is a super traditionalist. Very stubborn. He's probably more stubborn. He thinks he's the director of the films he DPs. So he said, okay, I'm going to make this film, because they had to beg him, but I don't want to use helicopters. I don't want to use any modern film technology. We're gonna go straight up push the camera in or stuff like that. No zoom lenses either, bitch. And everything has to be from certain type of human perspective.
Yeah.
And he wanted to make it like a tableau or like a painting. That's why, like, if you notice, like, almost all the shots are always from, like, well, you can see it could be from somebody's perspective or over the shoulder and stuff like that, except and there's no zoom except the opening, and except try to guess one other shot where they don't
I know
have
what you're talking about.
a human shot.
I think it's when Vito gets shot, right?
Yeah, and it's like a
The
eagle eyes
perspective of
view.
God.
Oh yeah,
And then, he said it like this. It's like, it's my perspective, the perspective of God. And that's how he convinced Gordon Willis. He's like, okay, fine.
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
He's probably so upset that he had to do that.
Yeah, he was.
Well, I love too. Is like, is from what I understand, because again, they call him the Prince of Darkness for just how dark this film is. Like, just the aesthetic. I mean, obviously,
Well, it
the
works
stories.
perfectly for this.
Yeah.
It shows like the duality of this film. Like, you see, like, for all the characters that have a dual lifestyle,
Yeah.
right, or work in the mob, they would have like one strong key light and almost no fill.
Yeah.
So you see like half darkness, half lit, and that's
Exactly.
nice.
Extremely harsh lighting and stuff too at times, and the fact that like even in it's like broad daylight outside, but you're inside these rooms and it feels like it could be it could be in the middle of the night. Yeah, it's like it's dark, and the way that the characters are each lit, where it's like they have to be sitting or like placed in exact locations, because otherwise they take one step to the left or to the right and they completely fall off.
Oh, that was the thing. The actors were pissed because they were like, they just missed their mark.
Yeah,
and then they'd be completely shredded in darkness, and they would complain about it.
Yeah. But no, that's great. Like, again, that just shows
it gives
like
the visual aesthetic to the movie for sure.
Yeah, it adds this like level of precision that like it's just it's hard to replicate that, that's
It insists upon itself.
I'm surprised
it insists upon
more
itself.
films or dramas. I mean, I get it doesn't work for every film,
Yeah,
but don't try this style a little bit more often. It's super simplistic too.
I think because it takes that like almost
Dedication
totalitarian like kind of mentality for the DP to be like, no, we are doing it like this, and that is it. I don't care if Dennis Hooper's half face is completely in dark. Dennis Hooper's not in this movie. I don't know what I was thinking. Sorry,
Robert Duvall or something.
Yeah, Robert Duvall.
Dennis Hooper.
No, sorry. Yeah, that's what's it called? The other one, Apocalypse Now. No, he's like, I don't care if he like we only see like half of his face. We need him in this one shot to be lit just like this, where like the street lamp is like only you can only see like like a part of his face or whatever. But it works so well. Yeah.
It's like and it's like and I do really appreciate like that level of like exertion of control a DP has. I mean, it shouldn't work all the time, but then I mean, like him and Roger Deakins and stuff like that, it works. I mean, Roger Deakins did in Sicario a little bit too, and he would just have like one key light or two lights.
But again, it takes like a big known presence like Deakins to be able to kind of like command that level of control on a film set, which is.
If you ever get hired as a DP for a major film, your very first job, you should be like, hold on, guys. This is how it's going to be done.
Yeah. Be like, we're going to shoot this like I'm God.
Yeah.
So Blake, as watching this over like the first time, how like, I'm sure you've already seen like certain moments of visuals. Yeah. But were you like, I don't know, what did you think? Like, what were your impressions of like the visuals?
No, I loved how the movie looks. Like I said, they definitely create that almost unique to its own movie's aesthetic with the darkness and like just how like characters are lit, and like it really adds this level of just like depth to the characters, I think, when they're talking. And like especially like I love the fucking opening scene so much where
Wait, is Brazzano, right?
The dude that's just like
the Undertaker.
Yeah.
But I also like how that scene's almost contrasted immediately on the next one, where I don't know, I feel like that scene really just sets up Vito perfectly, and we get him. We know everything we need to know about
Bonacera,
him.
My bad, not Bonacera. Yeah.
We know everything we need to know about Vito in that scene, but then I like how it just kind of continues to play out and stuff. I don't know. I just thought that
immediately just breaks out, and it's like you're at this wedding. Like it's this middle of the day, everything's bright. Hey, everyone's like music, like dancing around and stuff.
But if you're on the inside, it's like whole different vibe.
Exactly. Yeah. And like the harsh lights, like the Venetian blinds and everything just creates this like fantastic feel to it. It's like I was almost gonna say this film is like has a timeless feel to it because of it, but it's like no, it is extremely timeful.
Yeah, so it's in the 1940s and 50s.
Exactly.
And is reminiscent of that period really well.
It feels like it was made in the 40s and the
Yeah.
50s. And like as a kid, I didn't know, I just like thought this movie was made back then. That's like I was totally in the depression, like, oh, this movie was like came out like in the 40s or the 50s, and then later I was like, oh no, it came out like in the 70s.
I know, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Especially when you see films like Mean Street or like I think Taxi Drivers was 70s too, right?
Yeah.
And then like very different aesthetics, like you could clearly tell that in that
Yeah,
period.
yeah. And also the fact that it has this like very kind of burnt, like classic, like old
yellow.
school film. Yeah, yellowish
'cause
grain to it too.
He purposely, and it was controversial with Paramount. They were thinking about firing both of them. Is that like I think like he exposed it in a way where you get the like yellow tone. They're like, what the fuck you're doing? This looks like shit. This looks like shit.
But he's like, no. And I like that also. Like there like people have commented like they thought the oranges were supposed to mean something throughout the film, but like
they didn't.
No, yeah, the production designer was like, no, just with the colors that we're dealing with, like orange is the only thing that's gonna really pop. So they just have oranges in a lot of scenes. It just so happened to be that way, which is like great.
Retroactively, like it works now too. Like in Sopranos, like whenever orange happens, someone dies.
Yeah, it's like for some reason, yeah, like every time there's an orange, someone's gonna die, or at least there's gonna be some kind of violence going on. But I like one of the things I loved about this film that like my dad would always bring up is that like one, people are always like eating, that when they're around like family and stuff, there's always like a baby crying. Yeah. There's like this sense of like this is a family.
Yeah.
This is very much a family right now. Like when they're trying to figure out what they're gonna do, their plans, and like before Sonny eventually goes and gets himself killed, like they're cooking.
Yeah, that's why I love that there's like couple, and some people think it's a boring and details not necessary. You're wrong. That like the scene of when Clemenza brings Michael and say, hey, okay, so just in case you have to cook for somebody, you got to make sure you put some olive oil, make sure the garlic is finely minced and everything.
Yeah,
I love little details like that. It shows a little more culture and it shows it adds a like different flavor to the scene.
Leave the gun.
And Sonny walks up and is like, get the fuck out of here. Who cares about this shit?
Take the cannoli.
That's the oh yes, yeah, okay, leave the gun, take the cannoli. One of my favorite scenes.
Yeah, and again, also just visually fantastic. That one just feels like a painting where it's like you see that classic like car from the 50s juxtaposed, and it's like the kind of the reeds from like on the outskirts of New York, and them just like again that dark monochromatic look to it. It's beautiful, man. This is so gorgeous. You just want to cut out certain frames and just put them on your wall.
Every frame of painting. Please come back. It's like and I agree with that too. And then like the blocking of like specifically where each person is standing and stuff like that, or like even if like a person is taller than the other person, but if they exude more power, where like he always like Gordon Willis or Coppola would try to make them always sit at a lower pace.
Well, Coppola was like notorious for like his rehearsals, right? He would have like extensive rehearsals because he came from the theater, right?
Yeah.
So he knew how to like really just get the most out of his actors. Yeah. And it shows. Yeah.
It's like and then there's what's it called? I mean, well, this is part 2, so I'll save that for when we do a part 2 sequence. But yeah, even with like small little things where with Clemenza after they kill Paulie, and when he took a leak in the cannoli scene, like he made sure that Rocco was like looked smaller than Clemenza, even though Clemenza's a really short, fat guy.
Yeah. And it's just like because he's the more imposing or like the more powerful figure.
Yeah,
like,
he's a capo. You know.
Yeah.
And then also like I really liked how he shot the scenes in Sicily, right? And like that also has his own look to it too, where it's like apparently he meant to shoot it warmer, specifically to replicate like a feel of like a 1940s romance.
Yeah, and I love how it's just like that whole sequence. It feels like you can see and feel like Michael's reconnection to his roots. This is like the perfect like almost like just breeding ground for him to eventually become the Godfather. It's like he goes back to Sicily. He lives amongst there.
Sicilian.
Yeah, his Italian gets better and better. Like he knows how to like speak it more fluently by the end, and yeah, it's just like I don't know. It's just so.
I will say, if I had one flaw in this movie.
Oh, whoa. Oh, I'm just kidding. Go on. What is it?
I do feel like he gets like married in Sicily, and that does feel a little underdeveloped for me, just because we only get like 2 scenes with her.
No, I think that makes perfect sense for Michael though, right? Because especially with people of that time, or especially Italian men. Well, not saying all Italian men, but of the crime culture. They're very much like objectifying women, and
it's not just that though. It's just that we only really get like 2 scenes with her. I'm just saying maybe if we had a couple more scenes, I would have liked it a little bit more.
Or like it would
It's
have been
very
more
fast.
impactful.
Yeah,
or something,
like
her death.
she blew up, and I was like, oh no, like this woman we've seen twice.
That's true. I feel like
they gave it as much as they could.
Yeah,
without like
And I
dragging down the
understand,
plot.
and I understand this is a long fucking movie already, but just my take.
And also that character is like it's never meant to be more than Michael's objectification of women and like lust.
Yeah.
And also I don't in the novels. I mean, she has a little bit bigger role in the novels.
It's like it always offers, especially once you get into part 2. Like it just
I haven't seen part 2 yet, so heads up. No
I know,
spoilers.
but it's just this big what if, right?
Yeah.
That lingers over Michael like throughout the film, and he eventually, I think, he brings it up even in the third one. What happened to her, his first wife? Because it's like, what would have happened? Because he ends up with Diane Keaton, right?
Yeah,
which is crucial. It's very important because she's the character, who she knew him before he was like, the Don, before he was Michael Corleone. He was just Michael. Mikey, whatever. Hey, he was a kid. He was kind of like the outsider. He was a sweet kid. He kind of like always meant well. He didn't want to be part of the family. And then you see him transform into this like, this super powerful figure. And she kind of represents like that innocence of him, right? Or like the kind of who he used to be. So it's like you kind of like you kept picturing, again, especially when you get into the second one too. It's like, what would have happened if he had stayed, or if she had survived and he had stayed with that first wife? Like, what would his life have turned out? Yeah, like it's a very interesting.
He might have been an Italian crime boss or something, or he might have just been a simple like a rich countryman or something.
Yeah, he may not have wanted to come back home. He could have probably stayed there, but no, he decides, I got to go back home.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, it is a fridging character where, they killed the female character to develop, the male character.
Yeah.
But it works in this sense because it has to be. And also, she was never meant to be more than like just an object or a what if. And also, like, her character was also pretty simplistic on purpose, right?
Yeah,
she's
she
just
has,
like very attractive. And that's how the attraction was. He's like, she's hot, and that's it. But the weird thing is, any other movie, I'd be like, oh, that's like super shallow or rushed or anything. But this one, it just makes sense because people like that, especially during those period, where people just get married because of like one glance across a bar. Yeah. So it's like
Sir, can I marry your daughter? It's like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, you could either be a widow or you could get a new son-in-law. I'm butchering the quote. But yeah, that was an interesting scene. And then, at least for me, I at least on repeat viewings and also in the context of part 2 and 3, that scene has grown richer for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say this. I'm curious.
The character from 2022 Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Richard.
What's it called? Yes, I'm curious. Like after we do part 2 and 3, and also Coda, which is like a remix of
I've heard
part
3 is
3.
bad. I don't know if I want to watch it.
It's not that bad. It gets a lot of hate, but it's still well made.
It's one of those films that like if it didn't have the title of The Godfather, it would definitely have been thought of as like one of the better crime films like made for the time at least. But because it has that moniker with it,
like brings it down.
It cannot stack up to the original too.
But the I think Mario Puzo's The Godfather Coda, The Death of Michael Corleone, it's just the actual title of the new cut, does change it quite a bit. And
I have heard the new cut is really good.
It's
That's
significantly better.
interesting. When was that cut released?
It was like I think 2020 I think, or 2021. Yeah,
nice.
I
would really like to visit that version because I've seen the original part 3 like maybe once or twice. Like again, that was one that we avoided. So like I don't know. I'm curious to see how.
But yes,
different
when I was doing research, I did read a lot about people talking about how the new cut changes things for them.
Yeah, quite a bit. What's it called? It's it is interesting, the Sicily sequences and how as soon as that what's it called? Because it also looks a lot warmer in like both color and tone than the New York cities, which feel like a lot like not grimier but colder in nature. Like whether it's like the way it's lit, it's more dark.
Yeah,
it's less daytime scenes.
Exactly. I feel like when you go to Sicily,
it's almost all countryside exterior shots.
Yeah, during the daytime, I can't even really think of a nighttime scene while they're in Italy.
Yeah, I don't think there is a nighttime.
Other than maybe their wedding night, but that's probably it.
Yeah,
that's
but
indoors.
Even the interior scene, the wedding scene you're talking about, it's
fully lit.
Yeah, it's fully lit. And it's a good creative choice on my part. I'm not my part.
Yeah,
their
great
part.
job, Philip.
I wish I went back in time.
When I watched that movie, I was like, Philip.
Not gonna lie, I would
incredible.
love to make like not a Korean version of The Godfather, but just like actually, no, there's no Korean gangsters.
I was gonna say like this. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
No, that's not possible. There's like Korean people be like Vafangul, but that's too weird. I feel weird as Korean guy saying that.
You're such a gabagoo.
I know. Oh, I lost my mind. All right, let's get into the performances, the characters, and casting and stuff. This one also very interesting.
Are there any big name actors in this?
I know. Well, at the time, no. And there's only like Marlon and stuff. But well, actually, no. I guess Robert was also kind of big. But Marlon Brando, everyone was like, "Fuck no" to Marlon Brando because his past couple films did not too well, and he was known as a hothead and a troublemaker on set.
He's one of the most fascinating actors like in Hollywood history.
Oh, yeah.
I remember watching a documentary about him and just like like you feel really bad for him in a lot of senses, but sometimes he was just his own worst enemy.
Yeah.
But like I do understand that like The Godfather was kind of like that career resurgence for him for a little while, which was like great to see because he really was like supremely talented. He was truly gifted at this, and you could tell. And as I understand it too, he also acted as like almost like a mentor to a lot of these young aspiring actors who would, Al Pacino, James Caan, Robert Duvall, like there's just big names that like grew up to be like, some of like the biggest leading men in Hollywood.
It's like, some of the other choices they were going to do, I think Ernest Borgnine or Borgnine.
Ernest Borgnine?
I
think it's Borgnine. Yeah.
Borgnine. Yeah. Who's it's always funny. Can you imagine the guy who inspired Merman or whatever in SpongeBob, or like is gonna be Vito Corleone? That was like
my gosh,
that was like the biggest contender actually. Yeah, and,
I think he can be like he can be a great actor. Like I've seen him in I want to say other stuff. He's been in other gangster films. Right?
He's good. It was just like no, wrong choice.
Yeah, he does not carry in much like weight or like gravitas as like Marlon Brando does in this film. Like his portrayal of Vito is like it's inspiring. It's like it's soft, but also like strong.
Yeah,
it's like somehow like wholesome. Like you can tell he really does love and care for his family, which is something that like you can really question whether Michael does, especially once we get to part 2. But like in this one, it's like he like you can tell that he's like a family man first, and ultimately that kind of costs him. Like he like really tries to push his morals, and ultimately it's like no, you can't do that with this. Like it's supposed to be just business.
Yeah. They only accepted him after his. By the way, Francis Ford Coppola, Jedi mind tricked him doing a screen test. He said like you already got the role. But we just got to do this to just see how your aesthetic will be in the film. So he puts the cotton balls and starts acting. And that's how they convinced Paramount. He didn't find out about this until after they finished shooting.
Nice.
And he was like, fuck. Yeah, he would have projected the role, apparently.
Because he massacred my boy.
Oh, gosh. That's God. It's, I think it's my like favorite, I think my second favorite performance from him. Or might be my favorite. It's like either that or On the Waterfront. He was so fucking good in both films. That's called. Okay. Would you guys say his contender speech was better or the what's it called? I'm gonna make him offer, he refuses.
I mean, I've never seen all of In the Waterfront, but I've seen that
clip right?
of him and everything. So it's extremely different. It's hard to say. Like it's the same thing for like Apocalypse Now or even like A Streetcar Named Desire. Yeah, it's like they're all like wildly different. It's just show. If anything, it just shows his range. Like his like that quiet sentimentality that he is, ensues in like On the Waterfront versus this, where he's like, I don't know, man. It's hard for me not to say The Godfather.
Yeah,
honestly, as Vito, like Vito is probably his best performance.
Have you seen On the Waterfront?
No.
Let's go. But have you seen that speech though on the contender one? Oh, okay then. I'll move on.
That'll be our next one we watch.
What's it called? What was that? And do you guys know that the mob forced Coppola to for Al Martino to cast Johnny Fontaine?
I did not. Why?
Because it's apparently like before Coppola was here, he was going to be Johnny Fontaine, Al Martino. But then apparently they decided last minute that they weren't going to have him. They had another actor instead.
Yeah.
And then the Al Martino in real life also has a crime boss Godfather. So he went to him, and I wonder if that inspired a bit of how they played in that scene.
Well, I'd heard that like this film was actually like heavily influenced by the mob.
Yeah.
The way they portrayed a lot of the characters and stuff, which is why it's definitely a more romantic take on the mob. Unlike, Goodfellas, which feels way more realistic, where it's basically they're kind of all sociopaths and like assholes, and they're just kind of
Goodfellas
bullies.
has one of my favorite endings of any movie, but that's not what we're here to talk about.
No. Yeah. But it feels like more like I've always felt like, okay, Godfather is the dudes at top, the guys who are really pulling the strings behind the closed doors.
Goodfellas is like the people that are getting into bar fights and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's pretty much just like how the scene with Johnny Fontaine where he asked his godfather to get him the role and make an offer he didn't refuse. That's exactly what they did to Coppola. And the actor was like, you know what, I don't want to die and I'm not getting paid enough to die. So that's how he got the part, which is crazy. I mean, he fits.
Yeah,
he fits the role.
Yeah. It's like,
that's a character I wanted to see more of, which I understand there was going to be.
Yeah.
And he's loosely based off of sorry to interrupt.
No, he is not loosely based off of Frank Sinatra, apparently.
Really?
I've heard that he actually is inspired by someone completely different. But I think that in real life, Frank Sinatra got like really upset by this, apparently.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why he wasn't so heavily featured in the film. I don't know how much of that is true. That's like IMDb trivia level shit. So
interesting.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Grain of salt.
At least I don't know, because because part 2 is already so packed.
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad that he was on.
Yeah.
But okay, and then and also the same thing with Al Pacino's Michael Corleone. They really didn't want him because kind of unknown at the time. And they were trying to, their biggest people they're trying to get was Robert Redford or Warren Beatty.
What?
I know, yeah. Can you imagine Robert Redford like trying to be Italian?
Didn't they offer to Jack Nicholson too?
Yeah, oh no, but he was like, he's straight up like, he was like a contender. I could have been a contender. But no, they were like, he's like, nah, I should be an Italian.
Yeah. No, I'm so glad they got Al Pacino because
Burt Reynolds actually was also a contender.
Burt Reynolds?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
See, Paramount was going crazy at this point.
Burt Reynolds, who
so
famously
weird.
hates Boogie Nights.
Yes.
It's like weird because Al Pacino, you can't imagine anyone else in this role. It's like I think it's definitely his best role that I've ever seen him in.
What about Jack and Jill?
Donka Chino.
I don't know. It's like, it's hard. It's fuck. I'm not gonna go because with Dog Day and stuff like that.
Yeah, I just feel like this is probably his most like
iconic,
constrained and like understated performance that he gives. But there's also those like spikes of emotional like emotion and like that like vigor that he gives, but like he's way more like pulled back because I think later on you see him like he's like ooh ah ooh hey, like it's like sorry.
You mean post-scent of a woman?
Yeah, pretty much exactly. And like even in like The Irishman, which but I think it fits him better in that role than it does here. But this one he's very much like he's holding so much back, and you can just read so much from his like his face and his eyes.
The Irishman sometime.
Yeah, and like his body language, just in general, like it exhibits all this, like calculating control that he has that like makes you feel like this guy should be in charge. This guy, even though he's the youngest in the family, even though they're passing over Alfredo.
You're saying that it's less of a hothead performance and more. It makes more sense,
subtle performance.
Because that's also,
and his eyes just stress you down.
Also,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
in later performances, he's kind of more like a Sonny than like, or a Sonny than like what he is now.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
Okay, what's it called? Not to get the whole Al Pacino filmography, like people misconstrue, but he does have in between moments where he does performances like these.
Yeah.
What's it called? But
right.
What was like this whole
let's
thing.
talk about every single movie credit he has.
But yeah, like if you like, they fucking have Martin Sheen audition. Martin Sheen?
That's weird.
Can you imagine? Did you know Martin Sheen as Michael?
I think Martin Sheen wouldn't have been the worst role. Would not have been the worst choice.
He's Martin Sheen, so he's talented. It'll kind of make it work.
Yeah, I think he could have made it work, but again,
it wouldn't be as nearly as intimidating. There's also like Al Pacino has just like this kind of angular like face or something.
Yeah,
that just looks intimidating.
Yeah,
and his eyes are like just expressive but cold and deadly.
It's weird. He's like the shortest person in the room in like every scene, but he still can be terrifying.
And that's why they casted James Caan as Sonny.
Really?
Because the other guy they had was 7 inches taller than James Caan, so it would have been like that much more taller than Al Pacino.
Damn. So but I love James Caan too. Like, man, you can again go down the line. Robert Duvall as
Tom Hagen.
Tom Hagen.
That's actually besides Marlon Brando, I think that's my other favorite performance.
Yeah,
in the
no, he's
movie.
good too.
I think he's just a really fun character too, Tom
Yeah.
Hagen.
as like the adopted son / outsider, where he's fully in, but could never also fully be in because of his ethnicity.
And what's his role called?
He consigliere.
Yeah, like I don't know. It's like some early Saul Goodman shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's the
Like
dude
the
who
criminal lawyer guy.
exactly. He can pull them out of the fire. He can find a way out of this. He knows all like the legal jargon to be able to like worm his way through like any kind of mess they might find themselves in. And yeah, that's just an extremely satisfying character to watch. Yeah.
Who are your favorite performances?
Ooh.
You have to choose one.
Just one?
Yeah, one is your
Marlon
like, the
Brando.
best performance in the film.
Marlon Brando. If I had to choose one.
Just to like reach out a little bit, I'm gonna say James Caan. I
that's
love James Caan as Sonny. Like it's to play like an angry hothead character can be so
And yet
one
be
note
sympathetic at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. It could come off extremely one note and flat and just like, oh, whatever. Like he's kind of just the angry guy, whatever. But no, he adds this like layer of depth to him that it's like completely, it's sympathetic, it's understandable. You can you understand where his rage is coming from. And it's like, it's just all the more tragic because he has more potential. He's not an idiot. Like he tells his father right away, like, hey, we should probably do this drug business deal. And yeah, he's probably more inspired by greed in that moment, but he can also most likely see the writing on the wall. He tells, as he explains to his father later, he's like, this is just where it's going. And if we don't go with it, we're going to be fucked. And he's totally right. Like they end up like pretty much almost losing everything because they didn't really follow his direction. But he just lacks that
stability, the emotional stability that a Don needs.
Exactly. He's got that fire, but that's pretty much all he's really got. But
he's all id, but no super ego. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I think he's great. He really he nails that performance.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Well, Blake, you already kind of said.
Yeah,
would you like to go more into it?
If it wasn't Marlon Brando, though, it would be Robert Duvall's Tom Hagen. Like I said, I just found that to be a really
fuck you. That's my second.
It's just a really entertaining character to watch. And
you guys all reading my minds.
Now you're stuck with Diane Keaton.
Yeah. I guess I'll be a
great
basic
in the last scene.
No, she is.
She is really good. It's not my favorite Diane Keaton performance. Not gonna lie. I really did like. He's not my favorite performance. Obviously, my favorite is either Brando or Al, which is like basic. So I'm not gonna say it. But I want to give a special, two shout outs to Lenny Montana as Luca Brasi.
Yeah.
Which he has small little scenes. In the fucking book, I didn't know he forced a woman to put his own child in a furnace.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he was way more deadly, and also he killed hundreds.
He's kind of like a wholesome assassin in this.
No, like the reason why is because like he kills like a lot of people before he meets Vito Corleone, but Vito Corleone saves him out of his crime, and that's why his undying love and devotion for Vito. But then, and under Vito, somebody tries to assassinate Vito. So not only does he kill like that person, but he kills every single one of their friends, and on top of that, their friends and their friends. So like, there's one point where like in a matter of hours, he kills like 12 people at once. So
I think it would have been nice to kind of see, like their history a little bit more. But in this one, it's kind of like more implied that they don't even know each other, right? Or he's getting introduced to him.
They do.
He's like so thankful to be at the wedding.
Yeah,
and
he's
everything.
Yeah. No, he is. No, they do know. He's his top enforcer.
Yeah.
Which is what's it called? And Michael's enforcer, who he's a badass.
No, I'm sorry. I'm totally sorry. I mixed up Luca with a different character. Never mind.
Which character?
He's asleep with the fishes guy.
Yeah.
No. I like how you put that in brackets in our notes.
What's it called? But Neri becomes essentially the new Luca Brasi, and he does some crazy shit in part 2. And Neri's a guy who in the final montage he's dressed up as a cop and he kills Manzini. And also he plays, I think he's Tessio Tessio, Salvatore Tessio, Abe Vigoda. In the final scene, once he realizes the jig is up and they caught him betraying Michael to the Manzini, and he says it's almost as if like he accepts his fate, but also like there's a little bit of fear in his eyes, and it's little like the little squibble of the eyes, and as he tells Tom Hagen like, could you get me out of this for old time's sakes? His last little desperation attempt. I think that was just done so well, so subtle.
Yeah.
Also, I love when Tom Hagen just like,
not this time.
Yeah,
you fucked.
Nah.
Like, yeah, you fucked. And I love how also Tom's like, I always thought it was gonna be Clemenza, but it's like he's like, nah, Clemenza's too dumb.
No, and I love like just little moments like that where you can see how they're like they've been playing this game for so long, especially Vito, where he tells him at the end, he's like, whoever goes with you to this or whatever, that's a traitor. Yeah. He's just able to like see all the moves play out way ahead, where he's like, this dude, I don't even know who that is gonna be yet, but whoever that is, that's the one. And it plays out so well. Oh.
Gosh, this is the final sequence. Not to go into it because I know there's a bunch of videos into it, so I don't know how much more meaningful contribution that we could have to that conversation.
Yeah,
but just like the succession of the kills from like Mo Green,
Mo
Green, the eye shot was just so nice. And
you don't come to Vegas and talk to Mo Green like that.
I didn't know that he was based on Bugsy. I was like, oh shit, okay, the Jewish mobster Bugsy.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh okay, that makes so much sense.
Yeah,
like him killing Tatalia, Barzini, Strachey, Queno. Dude, it's like, I don't know. Even part 2 have a similar assassination thing. It doesn't live up to quite as much as this one. I don't know if anyone else can.
I talked to Barzini.
Sorry. Breaking Bad definitely took some inspiration from that.
Oh yeah, during I think season 5.
Yeah, it's the
part 1.
Gliding,
right?
Yeah, it's Gliding Over All, I think is the name of the episode. Where, what is it, like in 60 seconds, like 12 different gangsters get killed, right?
Yeah.
Which is fucking awesome, by the way, in Breaking Bad.
Was,
yeah.
That's
like a best way to kind of like
do it
like in modern times. Yeah. To show a new kind of version of it, but without it feeling like derivative or anything.
Yeah, and it's also a different context. But but like, you shouldn't me. Vince Gilligan definitely took some inspiration
of
for
course.
that.
Everybody took inspiration. Boba Fett wished it was Godfather.
Just kidding.
I heard that show was pretty good.
Shut up.
All right, just to wrap this up. It's like, and during Legacy 2, this film got nominated for 11 Oscars. The original score, actually, did you guys know it got revoked? He got nominated, but got revoked
because of like they said, parts, right?
No, he didn't.
Oh.
They he just played it in a different way, but they just like still consider that not original. They're a lot more loose with the rules now.
Lame.
But I'm like, they would have won too.
Yeah.
And he didn't win Best Director.
It's one of the most iconic scores of all time.
What did win Best Director?
Yeah, I think it was like this guy. He directed this movie called Fozzie.
Oh.
Yeah, like a film that nobody remembers.
Yeah, I was
gonna say, be really good.
Not as good as the
Fozzie
not as
episode
good.
next week.
It definitely.
I had to double check on that, but yeah, I had to double check on the actual guy, but he
next week we all watch Fozzie for the first time.
And just to double check, I'll double check if it's as Fozzie. But yeah, he didn't win. And Brando obviously declined. But yeah, and then
is this the famous
the Native American?
Yeah, is this that? Okay,
yeah.
I thought so.
So Legacy, and it still holds. I mean, obviously, I think we can all tell it still holds up to this day.
Yeah, for sure.
Amazingly, I don't even think, honestly, for me, I don't think any film, especially mob films, has ever. I mean, they're all done in different ways. So
yeah, exactly. It's like, I think that's what's so fun about like the mob genre is that you can go from something like The Departed or Goodfellas or Casino, and they're all like basically just hitting at it from different angles and stuff, but like no one has quite come close to just like the
hitting the zeitgeist like this film.
Yeah, like this one like hit big. I mean, you could argue honestly probably Goodfellas is the only one that can even hold a candle.
Yeah.
I honestly might like Goodfellas more, but that's only because I really like the Martin Scorsese style of like characters walking and talking to the camera and shit.
Yeah, it's like it's so funny because like it's crazy to think that like both of these filmmakers came out of like the same time period.
Yeah.
And like the same
different styles.
School of thought. Yeah,
and did
like
completely different things with the genre.
Exactly. So it's like on its own, no one else, like people have tried to emulate Goodfellas in a certain way, and some have like failed.
Martin Scorsese's remade it like 8 times.
He's done it. Yeah, he's done like his own flavor of it, but it's like no one has really even come close to like being able to remake like kind of the magic of what made The Godfather so special. So yeah,
Gangster Squad.
And I don't think they should. I mean,
it's
just hard. Oh my god,
I'm sure someone's gonna do.
I'm a little worried for The Offer, the television show, is about how it's made. But then again, it's about how it's made, so it's a little more excuse.
It'll be fascinating, and maybe we should have held up this. No, maybe for them we should do like Godfather Part 2 when The Offering comes out, like to review that, and also
what
do
if like
Godfather
Denis
Part 2?
Villeneuve announces he's doing a Godfather remake?
It wouldn't make any sense, like his sensibilities at all.
No,
like,
that would make no
sense.
No, I wouldn't.
No,
that's the one time. That's the only Denis Villeneuve project I would not be excited for.
Is there like?
But he would never do that. I know him.
I know.
Can you think of any director who, not to make a remake, but to somehow make something
like make a modern day equivalent?
Yeah, it's like they could possibly make something similar to this. Like who knows?
Ironic. This is kind of cheap, but she does have a very soft visual style. But yeah, Sofia Coppola. I guess.
Oh.
Yeah, but she would probably do a different type of.
Yeah. I don't.
Honestly, she was
J.J.
kind
Abrams.
of like Francis.
She was in the original, right?
Yeah, no,
J.J.
the third one.
Abrams.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she was also the original too. Yeah,
J.J.
yeah.
Abrams.
She was the baby. J.J. Abrams. Fuck
somehow
you.
Vito has returned.
Okay, let's get into final ratings. You know what? We should put this on. You know what? We should put a poll on this for Francis Ford Coppola. Okay, guys, let's get back on track. Okay. Final ratings.
Michael.
Final ratings. Blake, you're already speaking, so final ratings.
Blake's dying.
Okay. Well, you know what? Let's just final ratings. You know what? You and I think it's obvious in the museum. Yes,
It's in the museum for sure.
Blake, I'm not gonna say your rating because I feel like it might not be. But Blake, come on, hurry up.
I made Michael.
All right, Blake, hurry up.
I don't like putting movies in the museum upon first viewing,
But
given the context of yes, this is the fucking Godfather, yeah, museum.
all right, perfect. We forced and bullied him into in the museum, like just how the mob forced.
You did not change it. I want you to know that you changed none of my mind. I was going to do that.
We doubt it. But okay, thank you guys for another a half a clue movie review. Stay tuned for our next episode.
Wait, you didn't give. Oh no, you said it was in the museum.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, any films that you want to recommend to us, any classic Hollywood films that you think maybe we haven't seen, because it's possible that like me, Blake, or Jason haven't seen it. It's not possible if you're thinking of Philip, but if you can, look at something else. Honestly, I've wanted to do the conversation that's like Francis Ford Coppola's follow up to this film. It came out in '74 with Gene Hackman. I have not seen it.
Won the Palme d'Or for Best Director,
but I've heard amazing things from it, and it's obviously a completely different film. I would like to do that one. If you guys are interested in listening to that, let us know.
Somehow Michael Corleone has returned.
Okay. Thank you guys. Bye.